If you're over 50 and squats are the only thing you're doing for your glutes, give me 30 seconds, because the exercise you think is building your glutes might actually be working against your knees and your lower back instead. I'm not saying squats are useless. I'm saying that after 50, your body changes in ways most trainers never explain to you. Today, I'm showing you 3 exercises that can produce greater glute activation than traditional squats, based on real research, not guesswork. And I'll tell you right now, many people over 50 rarely include the second one on this list, even though it might matter more than the other 2 combined for how you'll be moving at 70. So stay with me, because this builds on itself. Before we get into the movements themselves, here's 60 seconds of context that makes everything else click. Your glutes are actually 3 muscles working as a team. The gluteus maximus, which is the biggest and most powerful. The gluteus medius, which stabilizes your pelvis every single time you take a step. And the gluteus minimus, working quietly underneath it. After 50, something specific happens to this system. It's not that the muscles disappear, it's that the nervous system becomes less efficient at recruiting the glute muscles when you move. Something many clinicians refer to as gluteal inhibition, or simply reduced glute activation. And that's why some people are surprised that simply waking these muscles back up can make walking feel easier long before they ever notice any change in the mirror. Here's a number that puts the bigger picture into perspective. According to the American College of Sports Medicine, adults tend to lose roughly 3 to 8% of muscle mass per decade after age 30. And that decline speeds up after 60 in people who aren't doing regular resistance training. Your glutes are not exempt from that. When your glutes go quiet, something else has to pick up the slack. Usually your lower back, your hip flexors, or your knees. That's often part of what's behind the aches people just assume are simply part of getting older. Multiple EMG studies over the past decade have consistently shown that hip-focused and single-leg movements activate the glutes more than traditional back squats, particularly in people with limited hip mobility. Keep that in mind, because it's the thread connecting every exercise we're about to walk through. Exercise 1. Hip thrust. Let's start with the one that does the heaviest lifting for your biggest glute muscle. This is the movement many physical therapists reach for, because it teaches the glutes to generate force without asking the knees to do most of the work. Sit down on the floor with your upper back braced against a sturdy bench, a sofa edge, or a step. If you have a folded towel or a mat, lay it across your hip crease first. Your hips will thank you later. Feet flat on the floor, roughly hip-width apart. Knees bent to about 90 degrees once you reach the top of the movement. Now, exhale, and drive your hips upward by squeezing your glutes, not by arching your lower back. That one distinction matters more than anything else in this exercise. If you feel it in your spine instead of your glutes, you're tilting your pelvis forward. Tuck it slightly and think about pushing your hips toward the ceiling, not your chest up toward the sky. At the top, your shins should be vertical and your eyes looking straight ahead, not up. Hold that for a full second. Then lower with control. And don't let your hips rest on the floor between reps. Keep the tension on the muscle constant the whole set. The reason this beats a squat comes down to mechanics. Multiple EMG studies over the past decade have consistently shown that hip thrusts produce substantially greater gluteus maximus activation than traditional back squats, largely because this movement isolates hip extension instead of splitting the work across your quads and hip flexors. Current evidence also points to another advantage. Hip thrusts generally place less compressive load on the spine than a traditional back squat, which matters enormously if your lower back has ever given you trouble. 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps, resting about 90 seconds in between. Start with just your body weight. You can always add a light dumbbell across your hips once this feels easy. Strong glutes aren't just about power, though. They also have to keep you stable every time you stand on one leg. Getting out of a car, stepping off a curb, catching yourself on uneven ground. That's exactly what the next exercise trains. Exercise 2. Single-leg Romanian deadlift. There's a smaller glute muscle that most fitness programs for people over 50 completely overlook, and overlooking it is tied to something more serious than sore hips. Here's something rarely talked about in fitness content: balance and proprioception. Your body's sense of where it is in space decline noticeably after 50. Current evidence consistently links reduced single-leg stability to a higher risk of falls and long-term hip joint issues. A pattern reported across several studies, including work published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine. This next movement trains two things at once. It works your gluteus medius, the muscle on the side of your hip that most training neglects, and it rebuilds the coordination pathway between your brain and your standing leg. Stand on one leg, holding a light dumbbell 8 to 15 pounds, is plenty in the opposite hand. Keep a soft bend in your standing knee. This is not a locked leg movement. Now hinge forward at your hip, like a door swinging open, keeping your spine long and neutral the entire way down. The dumbbell lowers toward the floor as your back leg rises behind you to counterbalance. Picture your whole body as a seesaw rotating around your hip joint. You'll feel a stretch through the hamstring of your standing leg. And that's exactly what should happen. Only go as far as that hamstring flexibility allows without rounding your lower back, because range of motion here is earned, not forced. Then drive through your heel and squeeze your glute to bring yourself back upright. If your balance wobbles the first few times, hold onto a wall or the back of a chair. There's no shame in that at all. The neurological benefit of practicing this pattern is still there even with the support. Build the movement first, remove the assistance later. 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps per side, 60 seconds rest between sides. And this is often where people notice something sooner than they expect. Improving single-leg strength and balance tends to make everyday things like climbing stairs or stepping off a curb feel noticeably easier within just a few weeks of consistent practice. Exercise 3. Lateral band walk now for the third one. And this isn't really a gym exercise so much as a fix for something happening every single time you take a step, whether you realize it or not. Your gluteus medius, the same muscle we just trained, is also the one that stabilizes your pelvis with every stride you take walking. When it's weak, your opposite hip drops just slightly with each step, barely noticeable in the moment, but multiplied across thousands of steps a day. That small imbalance places uneven stress on your knees, your IT band, and your lower back. Current evidence suggests this kind of hip weakness may be one potential contributor to knee pain and lower back pain that many people over 50 experience without ever tracing it back to their hips. A link explored in research published in the Journal of Orthopedic and Sports Physical Therapy, among other sources. Place a light resistance band around your ankles or just above your knees. Both work fine. Stand with your feet hip-width apart, a slight bend in your knees, hips pushed back just slightly, like you're about to sit down. Now step sideways while keeping constant tension in the band, and never let your feet fully come back together between steps. Keep your torso upright and your core braced the whole time. The most common mistake here is using momentum to swing the leg out, which lets the gluteus medius completely off the hook. Slow down instead. You should feel a distinct burn on the outer edge of your hip, not your lower back, not your inner thigh. If you're feeling it in the wrong place, slow your tempo and lighten the band. EMG studies consistently report high gluteus medius activation during lateral band walks, with particular benefit noted for people dealing with hip instability. 3 sets of 10 to 15 steps in each direction. 60 seconds rest. So here's your complete plan. Put together. Hip thrust. 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps. Single leg Romanian deadlift. 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps per side. Lateral band walk. 3 sets of 10 to 15 steps per direction. All in, with rest included, that's about 25 to 30 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week, with at least one rest day between sessions. A lot of people in their 50s have quietly accepted that aches, stiffness, and slowing down are just the price of getting older. That you're supposed to manage the symptoms instead of actually fixing the cause. That's not the full picture. Muscle stays remarkably responsive to the right training at any age, and your glutes in particular respond well to focused, controlled work like what we just covered. Remember, this was never about replacing squats. It was about choosing the exercises that match the body you have today, not the body you had 20 years ago. This isn't about how you look. It's about standing up from a chair without thinking about it at 75. Walking without pain. Keeping up on a hike with your grandkids. Living in a body you can actually trust. Independence isn't something you notice when you have it. You notice it when you start losing it. If this helped you, send it to someone who needs to hear it. And if you have questions about your form on any of these 3, drop them below. I read every comment.